Thanks everyone for joining. In spite of recent surges in decentralized exchange activity, DEXs still only account for less than 1% of all crypto trading, and I know that's going to change. But there are a number of differences between decentralized and centralized exchanges, and liquidity is a big issue. So as a result, mass adoption of these DEXs by hordes of new entrants who don't have the stomach for volatility is likely. But before I get into these burning questions and some of these topics, let's introduce ourselves and this stellar panel. I'm Karen, CEO and founder of BlockchainIntel. We provide a platform to help motivate people to use and trust blockchains. Our platform helps increase trust, reduce risk by providing information people need to better understand the companies they're working with or want to work with. For example, the level of risk associated with an exchange. So we enable these exchanges and other companies to analyze risk for regulatory and internal reporting. Why don't we go around now and introduce ourselves? Matt, do you want to start us off?
Sure. Thank you, Karen. And hi, everybody. Some familiar faces in the DEX world here. So I'm Matthew from Loopring. I handle basically all the business stuff over there. We're a team of mostly engineers. Loopring just celebrated our 3rd birthday on August 1st. We've been an Ethereum DEX protocol since August 2017. And I guess the big important milestone in our life was about 1.5 years ago when we really focused on scalability research, specifically with ZK rollups. And we implemented the first ZK rollup in December 2019, which is already 8 months ago. It seems crazy because layer 2 scaling is really a great topic right now, and there's lots of peers joining us on layer 2. But we really concerned ourselves with scaling decentralized exchanges without sacrificing any Ethereum self-custodial security guarantees at all. Out of all the different flavors of scaling DEXs, we kind of chose the most secure one, the most tightly coupled to Ethereum. And yeah, that's what Loopring is, and we operate a venue on top of the open protocol called Loopring.io, or the Loopring Exchange. And yeah, here to hopefully be able to escape Ethereum's congestion and high gas fees, because we don't see it attenuating anytime soon, only more popular to come. So that's it.
Alex, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thanks, Karen. Hi, everyone. My name is Alex Wearn. I'm the co-founder and CEO of IDEX. I'm coming at you from my brother-in-law's childhood bedroom, so chalk it up to pandemic things. But great to be here. So IDEX is one of the most widely used decentralized applications. We've had over 350,000 customers to date. We consider ourselves a high-performance decentralized exchange. There's many different flavors of decentralized exchange, depending on what elements are decentralized and actually residing on the blockchain. Our focus was really striving to make the most usable, the best UX possible, the power and performance of what you get on a top tier centralized exchange combined with decentralized custody and settlement. We've actually got a new version that we just launched some elements of it today. So people actually start testing that now, and we'll be launching it here in the next few weeks.
Anton? Oh, Anton, we can't hear you. You might be on mute.
Yeah.
There you are.
My name is Anton Bukov. I'm from 1inch Project. I'm co-founder. We started 1 year ago, and what we built, we aggregated all the layer 1 liquidity into huge single DEX, and on we even can overtake centralized exchanges by the liquidity and by the prices on some amounts. Yeah. In 1 year, we achieved 1 billion of USD in volume, and more than 20,000 of users used us. Yeah, we're started with donating Chi token, gas token for user trades, but when prices exploded for more than 10 times, we can't even handle this anymore, you know, and people are sponsoring their transactions with Chi token that we also created. It's like more efficient version of gas token.
And Jude.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. So hi, everyone. My name is Jude. I'm the founder and the CEO of JoinCare. JoinCare is a DeFi-based DAO platform that designed to change the game when it's come to syndication. So just to give you the idea, when everybody talking about DeFi, usually thinking about how you deposit collateral, how you may be borrowed against that. But there is a lot of form of DeFi in the world. So for example, if you want to invest money in real estate, people do syndication. If you want to invest money in VC, venture capital, that venture capital need to raise money. So even if people invest money in decentralized vehicle, their money is never decentralized. So if the property underwater, they lose. If there is no liquidity for the VC, they lose. If the market sneezes or there is a war or pandemic or whatever is going to come next, they lose. So the question is not just how building decentralized project, but how the people that bring the money into those projects can have a decentralized investment. And this is what we created. We're allowing a new form of liquidity in a new form of syndication that bring unlimited diversification and uncorrelated returns with no market effects. Doesn't matter if the specific market like real estate or startup industry or mortgages been damaged or the crypto market been damaged, it's not affecting the investors. And then there is infinity liquidity as well, which is not based on traditional exchanges or traditional buyback pool with deep kind of loss to a pool because there is slippage. So it's a new kind of way that makes sure that people will have more security for their money. And most importantly, even though it's a new form of investment in security, the investment itself, it's not a security, which means it's really democratized and open to retail people, except of the United States at that moment, because we need to show that we are not centralized first before it will be stick here too. But everywhere around the world, it's not a security. So that's pretty much what we do.
Okay, so let's get right into the heart of the question here around liquidity. We've compared, and this is BlockchainIntel, it's compared liquidity that's been self-reported by exchanges and versus what we can see on chain. And we found that a number of exchanges have over-reported their levels of liquidity while others have not. We've also seen or heard wash trading happen on decentralized exchanges as well as centralized exchanges. How does your company address the often perceived or lack of liquidity? And what do you do to address that?
Sure.
Do you want to go in the same order around, or Alex, go ahead.
Okay, sure. Thanks, Matt. Yeah, so I was just going to start off kind of defining what people mean when they talk about liquidity. And if you think about a typical exchange, if you come to navigate to the exchange, you find the currency you're trying to trade. You'll see the bid and asks on the order book. And these are people that are willing to buy and sell that asset and that you have an opportunity to buy or sell into. And so typically those orders are populated by market makers. These are professional traders who make a living by being that buyer or seller that's always available in the market, providing that liquidity. One of the challenges that DEXs have had since the early days is that the infrastructure for market makers has a lot of assumptions around the performance, throughput, latency, et cetera, that these exchanges will have. And order book style DEXs, as they're known, broke a lot of these assumptions. So what do I mean by that? Market makers want to be able to place and cancel orders frequently based on outside price movements. You know, if the price of the asset you're trading changes on another venue, you want to be able to update the pricing on the exchange that you're market making for. If your order book is on chain, as it's called, then it's going to be expensive because you have to pay gas prices, and it's going to be slow because you're waiting for the network to receive your transaction. So I think that's been a big hindrance to liquidity to date, is a lot of the challenges around providing liquidity for market makers in the way they're familiar with. And I think there's really two exciting developments that are addressing this. The one is kind of forking away from the idea of order books altogether. And you see this with automated market makers, where the concept is, instead of having an order book that needs to be updated, we'll actually just have it be dictated by a formula in a smart contract. And that formula always offers liquidity at a static price until someone comes in and takes a trade out of that liquidity pool. And in some ways, it's a really dumb market maker. If you tried that market making strategy on something like a centralized exchange, you would just get eaten alive because there's absolutely no intelligence to the strategy. But it actually works pretty well in a decentralized environment because it solves a lot of the challenges that market makers have traditionally had interfacing with DEXs. And then I think there's another kind of set of strategies, and one that IDEX is pursuing, which is really about how do you make your infrastructure meet those needs of the market makers that are already providing liquidity on centralized exchanges. And this is what I touched on at the beginning, where we're launching a new version where there's a high performance matching and execution engine, an API that has advanced order types and meets the standards of what you see on centralized exchanges. The goal being to make it as familiar as possible so that market makers can just jump right in with the existing systems that they already use on other venues.
Right. I think that's really well articulated by Alex. DeFi is a small world, and the same conversations happen over and over again, and the same narratives kind of proliferate. And I think he got it right on that AMMs have found product market fit, and out of that, the percent, to the extent that we are eating into centralized exchange volume, it's coming from these automated market makers or pooled liquidity types. As Alex said, it's almost like Ethereum is this new environment, like this hostile or just different environment, and AMMs were uniquely enabled to live and thrive in this blockchain in this new jungle, right? It became a good predator or a good creature there, and order books that tried to map from the legacy world onto here, like IDEX being the archetype and like an OG in that. Transposing the old order books onto Ethereum, it just didn't work. The performance wasn't there. And Loopring is also an order book model. And, I used to try to get market makers on 3 years ago, 2.5 years ago, and it was pitiful, right? They had to pay 33.50 cents to make a trade. It was very slow. So that's why we pursued scaling. And it just so happens that we've really become a leading scalability solution almost as an afterthought, because that's what we needed to pursue our goal of allowing people to trade at a high performance level. Like specifically in Loopring's case, we went from allowing 2 to 3 trades per second on Ethereum to now 2,100. So like a factor of 1,000 increase in throughput and a corresponding reduction of slightly less than 1,000, like a factor of 700 or 8,000, 700 or 800 reduction in settlement costs. So that's what I agree right on that we have to. I don't think we've seen order books start to compete yet with AMMs and the likes of Anton's product 1inch, which has just been unbelievable in simplifying the user experience and giving the user a simple UI and serving up billions of dollars in volume. And now we'll see the legacy type kind of find its footing and perform at a high enough level to really allow market makers to deploy their high frequency strategies on Ethereum without giving up those same interesting properties that we're all here for.
So I have a little bit different approach than what we're hearing. From my point of view, all the market makers are a big risk for the individual person. It's maybe nice to use some of them if you do it very carefully and know what you're doing in the beginning until you have organic liquidity. But you need to remember that those people, they are here to manipulate the game in order to gain. And somebody needs to pay the price. Who is it, right? Usually it's the little man, the person that doesn't know when the price is going to dive suddenly without a reason. Why suddenly the Bitcoin dive 50% by a few minutes? How that happened? right? Obviously, it's not driven by simultaneously people wake up in the morning and decide that that's the moment. Somebody driving the market, and driving the market up and down in order to scoop profits. And what's the difference between that to any kind of pump and dump group that doing it efficiently, right? So I don't in favor of those market makers. And I think even the law have kind of a regulation. If you want to be a market maker, it needs to be very regulated. You cannot just come and treat people like it's your own money. And the way that I see the liquidity in the industry, I see it in a way that if projects want to launch themselves, I think it need to be designed in a way that his main goal is not to make money. His main goal is to have more demand than supply, and then you may make money. Because there is, I don't know why. Usually people make a project and give to themselves a lot of tokens and to the previous investors and to providers and to the grandmother. And then there is a game theory that before the launch takes place, everybody say, what if this token will not going to be successful? Should I run first and took everything that is there and offer 80% discount just to get something to myself? And overnight, you see people dumping a lot of supply. And it's not only that. In the real market, like if you go to the NASDAQ, Zuckerberg cannot dump his supply overnight. There is a rule for that in order not to damage me as the individual person. And I think people don't pay attention to that when they're building liquidity structure. And I think what they need to do, for example, in our project, what we've done is all the tokens that belong to everybody cannot be accessed to secondary market directly. There is a gateway, and they be locked in an escrow, and only the gateway can do that, and only the gateway can do that by using algorithm trading that makes sure that there is appetite, and it cannot offer below the face value in the market, which means it cannot offer a discount. And first, people need to know that whoever created the project is not going to stab them in the back. And second, you need to build other features that will be kind of solicited people to not to dump the supply. So for example, staking or downside protection that they can get the money back, right? So they don't have a reason to rush in and liquidate. So people need to think about a lot of features that first protecting the individual, but in the back door, protecting the public from dumping. So they're both working very well together if you do that right. And not only that the individual will enjoy, but the public will not be hurt when somebody doing it and dumping all the supply. And I think the moment that there will be projects out there with less supply, more demand, I think there will be no room much for too much manipulation. People will even pay premium price to get those type of tokens, right? So that's, I think, what, and I'm not saying it's easy to achieve. I'm just saying that it's better than have something that's volatile in the morning and in the evening, and between somebody lost his house, right?
Yeah,
so
totally.
It doesn't make sense.
Yeah, totally agree with you, Jude, because that's exactly what we've been hearing from a lot of our customers and also just the consumers out there that we work with. So what kind of information, just to piggyback on that, what kind of information do you think is helpful not only to the mass market, right, but also to companies such as yourselves? What would make,
So I will share with you 7 tools that I created, and you may pick it up for yourself if you're building a project. So, for example, we have an auction that will allow people to participate on a daily basis, but we don't allow them to come with unlimited money. You will not see the days of 2017 that people invest overnight $150 million and hocus pocus next after everybody dump it at half price. So we have a mechanism that every day increasing how much people can participate based on how much it's possible, and there is a room for that. Also appreciation, we have a mechanism that makes sure that there will be no overnight, 10x, because overnight somebody will say, I don't need 10x, give me 5, I'm fine with it, give me even 2, give me my money back, I will be happy for that, right? So we don't want to encourage bid war in the secondary market. So there is a limit over there, like a ceiling and floor. And we don't do anything, by the way. It's a smart contract that's been triggered by the public, for the public, in the very decentralized way. Or, for example, we have 90% downside protection. So every dollar that somebody putting in automatically locked in a smart contract for 1 year, and he can release it anytime that he like, if he's happy with the result, But if not, you can get the money back anytime that you like. So by locking the money and locking 90% of the token as well, you kind of reduce the pressure from secondary market from 90% of the supply in the meantime. Also, for example, we have a staking program, but it's not, again, meaning staking. I don't like all those games that say to you, give me your money, but I will lock it for your lifetime, right? I'm feeling like a CD in the bank. Let me get my gain on daily basis and leave me alone. If I will want to wake up in the morning and get out, let me out, right? So people need freedom. I feel sometimes, ashamed that my friend building tools and they kind of try to stick you to the wall and force you to do stuff, and they call it decentralized, right? People need to have the freedom in every matter and way. Also, investment power. That's a very cool tool that people can pick up. We do not allow people to participate in our auction unless they have investment power. What is investment power? If I want to invest $100 to buy in the auction those decentralized token, I cannot unless I have in my wallet $100 value of those tokens already. And if I don't have, I need to go to secondary market first to buy from somebody else. So all those tools, and eventually, and the most importantly, the gateway that I say that the founder and the co-founder and everybody and the grandmother will not have access to secondary market. All that combined and many other good ideas that other people have, they may help to move the needles and have more demand than supply. You know how beautiful it can be if people begging to buy it and people feel secure. I should hold in it. I mean, you don't need to be afraid that every morning you wake up and your coin that you invest in the DeFi crash and somebody liquid all your collateral. It's a disaster. I think what his name Anton was earlier or Andrew in the previous conversation. He said something and it's right. Sooner or later, something will go wrong. We saw that with Smarker. We saw that. We saw that with DAI. What happened when the Ethereum went down, or tomorrow morning it will suddenly jump over the roof and go to the floor again. You cannot play with people money because people do not have the knowledge that Alex has, or Matthew have, or Anton have. They're just thinking, I can make money and I can go to pension and I don't need to work tomorrow in McDonald's. Let me put all my saving in it. I saw people borrowing money from how it's called, gray market, those that if you don't pay, they take your children away. I see people rushing in the 2017 and put collateral on the kids. It's unbelievable why people do that. It's risky. It's very, very dangerous. Very, very dangerous. And we have responsibility for each other, not to seek profits, but to seek freedom for all. And the profit will come. Profit will come, but not the other way around.
So does anyone else have anything to add about information on counterparties that are useful? I mean, we provide a lot of data on, liquidity risk and regulatory risk, but what are you guys seeing as useful?
Yeah, so I'm not familiar with Jude's product outside of the descriptions he just gave, but it sounds a lot like smart contract enforced regulation. Vesting schedules, conditions under which the market pauses, right? Circuit breakers like you have on traditional exchanges. So I think this is just a natural maturation of a new market. And I don't think it has anything to do with market makers or what liquidity providers are in the participating in the market. It's more a function of the pseudo-anonymous global nature of this space, right? In 2017, for better or for worse, anyone could launch a product with a website and a token, and there was a lot of ill allocated capital, right? A lot of misaligned investments because the ease of doing so from a project perspective was arguably too low. Getting listed on NASDAQ today takes a lot more than a white paper and a website. And so I think you're starting to see the market, as kind of this ephemeral entity, the market, people start to understand that, one, you either need to look for kind of traction within a project. So I think that's what you're seeing with a lot of the growth in DeFi is projects who've been around for 2-3 years at this point, who've released products that actually work, have a use case, can have users get involved. those are starting to get some, I think, well-deserved attention. And then it sounds like there's some growing designs that will help new projects launch, but in such a way that ensure projects are held accountable. Because it is, I guess I personally was disappointed to see, and maybe it was inevitable given human nature, but it was disappointing to see the initial excitement of 2017, which was, we can crowdfund a lot of ideas from anyone in the world, democratizing access to investments as well as capital, turn into kind of where it was at the tail end of that cycle. So certainly excited by anything that can keep the good and throw out the bad.
Okay, and so as we wrap up here, just if you could comment on or talk about what you see as being needed in the future, or what you think would help increase liquidity for decentralized exchanges and help bring, really these buyers and sellers together for all of us.
Give it to Anton, who hasn't said.
Yeah. Anton, you wanna?
To say something fresh.
Okay, thank you. First of all, I like what Alex did. It was like a great summarization of what we have in mind about liquidity. So, thanks for Matthew for mentioning 1inch. Yeah, and what I see that we see a new kind of liquidity on the market, which was never like existing on traditional markets. Like Alex mentioned, automated market makers like Uniswap, Balancer, Banker, which was the first of the projects, and also Curve and even Black Hole Swap, which is gonna appear really soon. We saw it white paper. It was published like a few days ago, and we like see that possibly this kind of automated market makers are trying to overtake the volumes from order book based systems, especially that with higher liquidity amount they're providing better prices, and some of them are especially built for special token pairs. For example, Curve project is built for stable tokens of the same asset, like USD stable coins or BTC stable tokens. They can be swapped with like super small slippage, and that's incredible. We see that liquidity in these market makers are growing up to hundreds of millions of dollars, and they are allowing to swap tens of thousands of dollars and even hundreds of thousands of dollars with so small slippage, which is not even possible on some centralized exchanges, on most centralized exchanges. And yeah, we see like a huge opportunity in automated market makers, but we also see some problems of them. For example, it seems that no one noticed, but arbitrage traders earn more on Uniswap pools than liquidity providers. It's super strange. No one noticed this. We just discovered this, measured some pools for a few months, built some analytics, and noticed that liquidity providers earned the similar amount of money, and on some pools like Wi-Fi, liquidity providers earned 5 times more money than liquidity providers. It's super strange, and we think that this should be optimized and improved over the time. So just imagine if we could have same great prices and liquidity providers could earn more with better algorithms. This could be like a huge step forward. So summarizing, I really believe in automated market makers, but for sure, order book based systems really matter for all the DeFi. It's so sad that layer 2 solutions are a little bit far away from layer 1, and I hope to see more solutions which introduce interoperability. I saw one from Loopring, but I hope to see more more new versions of this, and to see more interoperability between layer 1 and layer 2, because the coolest thing of DeFi is interoperability and composability of all these great projects. And if they would be able to access layer 2 liquidity, this would be really great.
So I want to add something on that to your question. So one of the things that we realized with Jointer when we created that solution, and it's eventually going to be used by many industries like real estate, venture capital, mortgages, loan, student loan, and many other kind of industry that do syndication, we realized that people will need the ability to swap from one coin to another, from that coin to different network of the coin. And we didn't want to rely on external network for that because of the volatility, not the fee of the exchanges, because it's not necessarily so high, but the volatility is very high. And what I mean by that is that when somebody places an order today in any type of an exchange, and you say, I want, for example, to give 1 Bitcoin, and in return, I want, for example, 30 or 40 Ethereum, eventually the transaction will take place, but maybe until it will take place, the Ethereum decreased 5%, Bitcoin increased 5%, and he got what he wished for, which is 30 or 40 Ethereum, but it's not yet the same face value like he sent it, right? And what we created is a smart swap, which is not based on atomic swap method, is a different method completely that makes sure that people will be able to swap any type of asset. Not only that it's free and there is no charge, it's completely, we have a subsidiary nonprofit organization that we place it over there for free. People can swap it for free, but what is cool about this tool, which is going to be launching in a few weeks, is that whatever you swap in, including Bitcoin and Ethereum in the central way and not in the way that is working with the clock in the atomic swap, you will be able to get exactly the same face value that you're sending, which means if I'm sending $10,000, there is no chance in the world that I will get 10,001 or 9999. It's not possible. You have to receive exactly the same face value, and you can do peer-to-peer or peer-to community, which means you can actually submit your order and go to sleep. You don't even need to be there in order to collect the order, or other side will not collect the order as well. It's not working like that. It's completely different method. We even patent that in order to give it for free, so nobody will try to make money out of that. And again, it's something that we build for our own use, and we decide to give it for free for everybody. So that will be, I think, a good tool that people will be able to swap. But it's not a tool for trader. If somebody tried to sell below the market or offer above the market, that's not the right tool. This is the tool that makes sure that people have exactly the same face value. So it's only serving someone that you say, I want to change from Ethereum to Bitcoin, but not as an investment, just because I want to change my assets, right? Or if somebody buying and selling every second as a tactic, that's not for him, right? You still need to go to a regular exchange or decentralized exchange to do that. But if you have a...
Yeah, I would just... I just wanted to interject here because I find your line of thinking interesting, and I guess we have to wrap up, so I'll try to be broad too. But like at the end of the day, like this panel is supposed to be about liquidity. Liquidity is provided at a cost. It's somebody's business to provide that liquidity. Either it's a professional, like Alex alluded to, and it's some big firm with 800 traders on a desk, and they're there because they can make money. Like it's easy to vilify them, but they're providing a service, right? The service is that they're very price sensitive, and they're going to try to make half a beep every trade. But I, normal taker, come off the street, and I value time, my time and simplicity more than my price sensitivity. So I'm going and dealing with this market maker because they improve the outcome for me. They're not a bad thing. Of course, it's easy to actually vilify them, and I'll actually even entertain that thought that there are some big ones and it's easy to, but they're providing a service, right? They're making these markets work. If they weren't there, then I'd have to wait by happenstance for another casual taker that isn't price sensitive, but is to come and be like, hey, do you want to trade with me? It's much more enjoyable for an end user to go there if there is a professional firm. Now, I will say, like in our case, we have a venue now. We are not paying these big firms a monthly retainer to say, hey guys, stand there on the corner and facilitate flow as it comes in. We could, and we'd have deep liquid books, but we're not, because we view that our architecture and our whole ethos, we much rather incentivize like an open set of enthusiasts, bot runners, tinkerer types, right? Like these people that are in DeFi. So we have an open source trading bot, let's say, and we say, hey, every hour we're gonna take a snapshot. This is like a liquidity mining campaign that we have on the venue. We say every hour we take a snapshot of the order books. Whoever is there with a resting limit order, we are going to reward you $4 an hour, $8 an hour. Instead of paying the pocket of one firm, we're trying to get a whole distributed community. So it's either a giant market maker and you're lining their pockets of X thousand a month to be there, or you try to go more grassroots and you incentivize makers, a distributed set of makers. But either way, you need makers there for the takers to get there. And of course, with AMMs, anybody, and that's the beauty of an AMM, is you don't need an active person, whether it's a big firm or a tinkerer, hobbyist, bot runner. They don't need to do active things of placing an order and removing it when they're informed by like an outside price. You just deposit into Uniswap or Balancer, and a function is the market maker. So it's much easier for anybody to provide liquidity passively there, whereas us and Alex, we don't have it so easy. We have to say, hey, spin up here and trade at a high performance strategy, doing your very sophisticated strategy. So it's different, but I wouldn't try to like vilify them. I'm not saying you were, by the way. I found your impassioned little speech.
So I will say one more, because you start by saying we need to wrap, and you're right. Probably everybody saw Back to the Future movie, right? With the dog and the kid, right? Everybody familiar with Michael J. Fox as a character. And I think every time Michael J. Fox would say, it's not possible, I don't know how you do it. And then he'll then say, you don't think in 4 dimensions, right? So the thing that I say, this is what I know, it's like I say to my daughter, don't think that something is not possible because you don't know how to do that yet. I'm telling you that what we created is something that is absolutely different than what exists today. And it's not the mindset, I need government, I need liquidity, I need market maker. There is another way. And we proved that by many times in the last few years that people can go out of what the thought is the end of the thinking and expand the thinking to a new dimension. So I'm inviting you to read our white paper, and Kyle on the chat can share that with you, and I can send it directly. And you can see what is it that we created, and in a few weeks from now, you will see how it works. I agree that if we developed that in the early stage when there was only Bitcoin, it will not work. But today it works.
Yeah. So thank you guys. Appreciate all your thoughts on this. It was a really great discussion on where we are, where we've come in terms of liquidity, and definitely the innovations that your companies and decentralized exchanges have provided. Look forward to seeing what is to come and talking with you again. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.